again. Welcome to or welcome back to We Are Wool People. My name's Ailsa and on this channel we talk about knitting. Come sit down next to me and let's talk about cosy things. I haven't seen you for a little while and there's been a fair bit going on around here. Let's get stuck into talking about our knitting. Looky. I finished something. Woohoo! Didn't think that was going to happen this year at all, hardly. Anyway, look, here it is. This is the Erika sweater by the Knit Pearl Girl that I finished making it from Silk Garden Sock Solo. Yep, Silk Garden Sock Solo in the colour 81. And Knitting for Olive, soft silk mohair in the colour unicorn purple. I held those two yarns together throughout the project. And it was probably pretty good that I did actually have that carry along yarn, the silk mohair, because at times this Noro yarn, it's a bit of a slubby yarn and it went down to filaments that were so fine. They were, you know, barely cobweb weight from time to time. So I'm glad I did have that mohair strand to keep it nice and strong. Anyway, so here it is. This is the Erika sweater from the Knit Pearl Girl. I knitted the third size, I think, and the body of the sweater was knitted on a 3.5mm needle, and the trims and the ribbing was done on a 3. As I always say, I'm a very loose knitter, so it wouldn't be an indication of what knitting needle a normal person would use. This jumper took me exactly 1 month to knit. I started it on the 28th of Feb and I finished it on the 28th of March. I would like to take a moment to admire the beautiful neckline details on this sweater. Just going to come up and show you, look. The shaping on the front of this sweater, down where the neckline decreases are, as you can see there, that make one left and make one right increases rather, and the raglan line and the saddle contiguous shaping are all, I'll show this side where you don't get that little weird stripe, are all just amazing. Look how perfect that is. And because of the way that it's been really carefully designed, the pattern, there's not a hint of a chest bubble here. I'm really happy with it. I love the colour and I love the squishiness. I love the oversizedness. It's going to be really super cozy for winter and I'm really looking forward to getting some wear out of it. And the weather's cooling down, so that should be really soon. I will tell you, I didn't make any modifications to the pattern per se, except to say that it's got a split hem. I'll get that out of the way and show you the split hem. It's got a split hem on both sides, and the back of the split hem is supposed to be a bit longer than the front. I didn't do that because I was running out of yarn. And the other thing is the neck asks for a really long distance of ribbing to fold it over for the turtleneck, or to do it as like a funnel neck. I kind of did a bit of a hybrid of that because I've got a really short neck, so I just did however many centimetres of rib and then turned it over just to make sort of a smallish polo neck, a single fold over neck. It worked well for me. The knitting of this was really enjoyable, except that, because as I've discussed before, an enormous amount of yarn management went into this in terms of the colour to stop that Noro Silk Garden sock yarn, which is probably a striped yarn with a long colour repeat, to stop it from striping or to make the striping as not noticeable as possible. I used 4 balls of Noro to make this jumper and I ended up helical knitting with 2 balls for a little while and then swapping them out and constantly mixing up the composition of the balls. Sometimes it would be ball 1 and 2, sometimes it would be ball 1 and 3, 1 and 4, or 2 and 1, you know, etc. 2 and 3, 2 and 4, 2 and 1, or 3 and 4, 3 and... You got me? I put quite a bit of effort into that, and I also did a bit of effort to keep some left over and some arrangement, so that when I did put the sleeve stitches on hold and knit in the round, I actually did remember which balls I had been using along the middle when I went to do the sleeves, so that the sleeves and the middle were the same. Anyway, I think that paid off, because I do think what I've ended up with is a tweedy jumper and not a tweedy stripe jumper, and that's what I was after. I hid some of the colours that I didn't like under the ribbing in the neck, and when it came time to do the ribbing on the bottom, I actually stopped the yarn management, and you can see straight away that had I have knitted it without that yarn management all the way through, that I would have ended up with stripes. Because I didn't do any yarn management in the ribbing, and it's obviously striped. But that's okay, because it's right down the bottom and you won't notice it. This was a fun knit. The pattern itself, written by Sophie from the Knit Pearl Girl, was really chatty and very, very easy to follow. And one of the things that I did appreciate that's in that pattern is that she stops frequently throughout the pattern to remind you what the stitch counts are in every section all the way through, and I think a lot of patterns actually would benefit from doing that more. Whenever you had to do, you know, the next thing, or to make a decision, or to start increasing for the raglan shaping, or start increasing once the contiguous shoulder turned from the saddle into the saddle and the front and the back and the neck, you know, there's a bit of that going on. It was really clear, it was really interesting. I also did the Rook bind off, and that was, I'd never done that before, and that was an absolute revelation. It's a dupe of the Italian sewn bind off, or the Italian tubular cast off, and it doesn't involve any setup rows, and it doesn't involve any complicated readjustment of the stitches. And whilst it's not quite as beautiful as an Italian sewn cast off, it certainly is pretty nice. And let me show you just quickly. And given that it's probably faster than any other cast-off method I've ever seen, you know, I think it's really worth learning. I'll put a link to a tutorial for it below, but in the meantime, just have a look at what it looks like up close. You can see it gives a kind of a rolled over edge. Not completely invisible, but it is really nice, and it's very stretchy and comfortable to get on and off. So that is the Econ sweater by the Knit Pearl Girl in this beautiful purple colour. Did I tell you the colour? In the Silk Garden Sock Solo, it's colour 81, and in the Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair, it was Unicorn Purple. I'm sure you've heard me say that before. And that was my first finished object. No, not first finished object, that's my first finished sweater for 2025. So that was good. I will give you a very quick rundown on my main whip, and that's the Manon jacket from Morka Knit. I don't think I'm going to come back and give you the update on this every time I do a podcast or every time I make a video, because it's extremely slow going and there's not much to see except more and more and more of very, very slow growing seed stitch on a 3mm needle. However, I will show you what I've done. Not much more than before. I'm still going in backwards and forwards, and I haven't split for sleeves, and I'm still heading down the sleeve cap and across the fronts and the back, making it's actually a top-down set-in sleeve pattern, so I'm still plodding away at that. It's very slow going. I'm making this with a combination with 3 yarns held together, 2 boucles and an alpaca, I've said this many times before. If you've been here before, I'm sure that you will know. It's 100% merino boucle yarn. They're both very fine. 2 of those held together, plus 1 strand of Holzgarn Titicaca, which is 100% alpaca lace weight yarn. They're very sticky, these yarns, so the 3 of them are staying together quite well. So in terms of the yarn management, it's not that much of a drama. But as I said, because it's 1 by 1 seed stitch all the way through, it's going to be quite a long project. What I'm doing to try and motivate myself to work on it, because I really do want this jacket, it's just that knitting on it is not that enjoyable. I'm putting a little progress keeper on, and I'm actually forcing myself to knit 5 or 6 rows of this every night when I sit down before I get on to my fun and exciting knitting, which I'm about to show you now. My next door neighbour is 100 years old next month, and she's having a party for her 100th birthday. She still lives at home with her daughter, who is her carer, and she is in pretty good nick for someone who is 100 years old. Now, during her life, she owned a clothing store, a dress shop in a suburb close to where we live, and it was a very well-known dress shop. And as a matter of fact, anyone my age or older, pretty much, if you were to mention the name of this dress shop, who comes from this area rather, if you were to mention the name of this dress shop, they would have known it. What do you buy someone who's 100 and owned a dress shop all her life? She's actually really quite stylish still. So I thought that I would make her something, and I thought that I'd make her something from stash. Now, you probably know this as well. I'm not a shawl knitter or a wrap knitter or a shawl or wrap wearer. Years ago, I did used to make a lot of shawls and a lot of wraps, and that was in the days where I never wore anything that I made. Now, I am a process knitter, so I did enjoy knitting things like that as well, but I never used to really wear them. The only time I really would ever wear a shawl is if I was going somewhere where there would be other knitters who would understand and appreciate that garment. In my normal day-to-day muggle life, I don't really have any need for a shawl or a wrap, and I do find them actually a little bit kind of odd. I don't really wear them. I don't even really wear scarves that much, although there are some nice scarves around this winter. Anyway, I digress, and I'm sorry. Let me show you what I'm making. No, I'll show you the picture first. So, I have this book. It's in Japanese, and it's called New Style of Heirloom Knitting. It's a fantastic book. I think I bought it in Kinnikinaya, way back when Kinnikinaya was first came to Sydney. I think I literally had this book for that long. I've had it for, you know, at least 8 years and maybe 10, maybe even longer. And this is what I'm making for my 100-year-old neighbour, this shawl. It's called Blumengrass, and it's constructed by, I'm just going to make sure that I've got, yeah, it's constructed by knitting a triangle of an eyelet lace. Right, by knitting a triangle of an eyelet lace, and then knitting feather and fan repeats all the way down from the pickup, or from the live stitches here, no, pickup stitches across here, and then putting on this beautiful, very, very feathery edging at the end. And I thought that I would make that, or a version of this for Julie, in stash yarn. And so I started this, and this has only been 1 week's knitting. This is actually quite a quick knit. I've been very surprised. And here is my progress on the Blumengrass shawl. The central panel, as you can see, is an eyelet lace that you make in a triangle, increasing on every right side row along the edges. You start at the middle and you increase on every right side row along the edges to make a triangle. And then you leave the top stitches live. So I have those on this needle cable. And then you pick up along the 2 triangular edges and begin knitting a feather and fan repeat all the way down for as long as you like. And it's really nice the way that the increases in this part are absorbed within the pattern repeats so that there's no obvious seam or obvious spine of increases, which there often is in triangular shawls. So this has been going really well, really quickly. I'm not far now from getting ready to do the edging, which you cast on and then you knit horizontally, absorbing each one of the live stitches all the way around the piece. That is going to take a long time, like a really long time. That will probably take double the amount of time that this part takes, even though it's only 12 stitches. There's a lot to get around. If you've ever knitted on a button band on a garment, you'll know what I mean. What did I make this from? Made this from. The central part is 100% cashmere lace weight that I bought from Temu. So is it 100% cashmere? I don't know. It says it is. I don't know. In this sort of maroon colour. It's a bit of a school uniform colour. I don't really like the colour very much. I bought this mostly to experiment whether it would actually arrive and whether it was real cashmere. It did arrive. I don't know if it's real cashmere or not. Then the rest of it is with all those stash kid silk haze or mohair silk blends that I had. I had them hanging up on that wall there, and now most of them are gone. I've had to replace the yarn up there. But I've been, for a while there, sort of pre-COVID days, I was everywhere I went, every time I went to a yarn store, I'd pick up a ball of silk mohair because I was going to make an instant crush by Johi Locatelli. But I think that actually the climate here is too hot, too warm to wear a lace weight mohair sweater. If the weather's warm enough to wear a lace weight mohair sweater with all those holes in it where the wind is going to come through, then if you perspire it'll be really unpleasant. And if it's cold enough, you don't want all those holes, I don't reckon. Anyway, so I'm not going to make a Johi Locatelli instant crush anymore because I'm using the yarn to make the present for my 100-year-old neighbour. I'm not sure when I get around the edge whether I'm going to use the cashmere lace weight as the border yarn, even though in the pattern it does use this colour, the central colour here, to do that. And that's because this is much thicker than the Kid Silk Haze, the mohair silk blend yarn. And I think that if I do actually end up framing this really, really feathery lace work with this that's quite a bit heavier, it might give it that kind of heaviness around the outside that won't look very nice. I just want to show you one tiny thing. I'm labouring the point here, but let me just show you this tiny thing. What I did, this central part, this dark maroon part, whilst it's the same colour as this yarn, I'm only using the spool of carry along thread. I'm only using the spool of carry along thread that you get with each ball of that cashmere for that panel. And what I might end up doing is I might only use that, which is like sewing thread, when I go to do the border, but we'll see. So that ended up being my sneaky and unplanned cast on for April. If I were to do the number of rows that the pattern asks for, it would probably take me into a third one of these coloured stripes, but I've only got this much of the cream Kid Silk Haze left, and so I think I'll probably finish up when I finish this yarn and start doing the border. That's not for me, that's a gift knit. It's not really to my taste, but I do hope that my 100-year-old neighbour likes that for her present, for her birthday. I've got one super fast sewn finished object that I'll show you. I made a free pattern blouse for my daughter. It's white, it's probably going to blow out a bit. Can you see it? Yeah. There you go, you can just see. It's like a smock with some ties in the front. It's a free pattern from a company called Unfettered Patterns. And I got it. I watch a podcast called The Fold Line, where once every Monday the woman that owns that company comes on and gives a very brief rundown of the patterns that were released the week before. And this was one of the patterns she mentioned quite a couple of months ago. This is one of the patterns she mentioned as being a free sort of spring pattern. It's very simple, very, very, very easy to sew, and I made it for my daughter, and she is in Johannesburg at the moment because she's a flight attendant, and when she gets back, hopefully she'll come and see me and I can give her that top. So they're my whips and my FO. Oh. The most challenging thing about that finished object, about that shawl, is the pattern. Would you like to see it? It's pretty funny. That's the pattern. You get a diagram, some charts, a big chart, and some words entirely in Japanese, which I do not read. But luckily, there are some numbers on this chart, this triangle chart, and I was able to work it out. It's actually really brilliant the way that the Japanese knitting patterns are able to be summarised so well on a single piece of paper, or even, you know, one sheet. Obviously that kind of chart can't be put on the one page. But it's brilliant the way that they're able to so succinctly just show you visually what you have to do. And, you know, with a little bit of experience, it isn't that difficult. Nowhere near as difficult as what you might imagine. Although it did scare me a little bit when I took a look at it, I have to be honest. But yeah, so that is how I've worked out how to make this shawl. But it's working quite well. Last Thursday, I was invited to judge the crochet at the Camden show. And I drove up in the morning and I did that, and it was really, really fun. There was a wonderful standard of crochet at the Camden show this year, and I didn't get up to the show on the weekend, but I really hope that it was a success. They were very, very lovely, and I had a fantastic day. You know, a nice country. Actually, it wasn't the Country Women's Association. It was the Red Cross. Red Cross morning tea, Red Cross lunch, and a day looking at beautiful crochet projects. Couldn't really ask for more, could you? It was absolutely wonderful. Everybody was really lovely. They gave me a little show bag with a coffee cup and a chicken, a lovely certificate, and a judge's judge's ribbon, which was also super fun. Silvana, who was the head steward there, was so lovely to us, and I'd really like to extend my thanks to the Camden Show Society and Silvana for being so welcoming and for inviting me to judge the crochet. I had a great time, and I was really excited to see the work. There were two standout projects. One of them was the Hig wrap, which is a skipies pattern that I have really admired since it was first released in 2017. I've been very, very excited to see one in the wild. It was really beautiful. It's a rectangular wrap, and the entire thing is made in double crochet, and then all the embellishment is added as either overlay crochet, or there's even parts of cross stitch and tapestry throughout it. It's got a really Scandinavian kind of vibe about it, and I was really excited to see that. But that is not the item that won Best in Show. The item that won Best in Show was this magnificent duster that was like floor length, with these beautiful big sleeves and a shawl collar. And it again had a bit of overlay crochet on it. It was this gorgeous honeycomb pattern that sort of faded away as it travelled up the garment, and there was more of that honeycomb pattern on the shawl collar. And there was it was made in a charcoal grey, and there was this sort of acid yellow / mustard trim on it. It was extremely striking. It was very, very beautiful. And I was going through my photos in my phone over the weekend, and I noticed that exactly the same duster won a prize at the Bendigo Sheep and Wool Show last year, and I'm wondering if it was actually the same one, because it might have been, and I can't tell by my photos on my phone because I just took a photo in the glass case, but that was the standout. That's what I gave the prize for the best article in the show to, because it was really amazing. It was really striking. It was difficult to judge. There were some great crocheted items in there, some beautiful blankets, a lot of really lovely mandala style blankets and baby cot blankets, and whatever, some beautiful coloured ones. But the reason I gave it to that jacket is because a lot of people were making blankets and not a lot of people were making floor length duster coats. It had the wow factor, and it also had an unusual element to it, because when it comes down to it, sometimes it's very difficult to actually choose between two magnificently crocheted items or two magnificently made items. The standard of the knitting was also really high as well. I didn't judge the knitting, but one of the people from the Knitters Guild, one of the ladies, Robin, hi Robin, she judged the knitting, and the standard was really high. We both had a really good day. We had a nice lunch and a chat afterwards. So thank you to the Camden Show for that opportunity. I really enjoyed it. And now I need your help. A couple of weeks ago when I went to the Australian Yarn Show, do you remember I said that I was doing a bit of hustling? Well, I met Erika from Yarniecopia, and I've been in contact with Erika since then, and as a result of some discussions, I've had an unbelievable, fortunate thing happen to me. Cardiff Cashmere have sent me a box of their brand new laceweight yarn that is a cashmere silk blend. The yarn's called Prime, and they sent it to me like a box of chocolates in this beautiful, timeless, navy, dusty blue colour called Christabel. This lace-weight yarn is 68% cashmere, 32% silk. This is a 25-gram ball of yarn that has 300 metres on it, just to give you an idea of how light it really is. This 25-gram ball feels weightless, and yet there is a incredibly soft, fluffy structure to this yarn. It's obviously a really luxurious product, and whatever I make with this, I'm hoping for it to certainly last my lifetime, and hopefully something that my children will treasure as well. So I guess importantly now, I would like to express my deep gratitude to Erika for considering me, even though I'm a tiny, tiny channel, for considering me as being worthy of being put forward to Cardiff Cashmere for this promotion, and also my gratitude to Cardiff Cashmere for taking the risk on such a tiny channel and sending me this incredible gift. I am extremely humbled and if the truth be told, quite nervous about what I'm going to make with this yarn, because it's so luxurious that it's almost terrifying to knit. But, however, having said that, if you had have asked me last Tuesday what I was going to make with this Cardiff Cashmere Prime, I would have said to you, I'm making the Joanna Ang Fairy Bouquet sweater. And that's what that looks like. But that was before the yarn came, and now that it's arrived, because it's a lace weight, in order to get the gauge on that, which is a sport weight, possibly even closer to a DK weight, I probably have to hold this triple. And because it's a lace weight yarn, and it's a brand new lace weight yarn, I don't really want to detract from the actual properties of the yarn by turning it into a yarn that's something else. I then went back to the drawing board and, did what you always do, and went on Ravelry and looked at patterns that sort of showcase a lace weight yarn. And there were a few that I saw. A couple of the standouts were the Lucretia blouse from Fable Knitwear. Quite a few of Kim Hargrave's patterns. often made with mohair silk blends held single, and they can be very ethereal and very light, also really gorgeous. And then I got thinking, well, I've got this jumper. I'll just stand up and show it to you. Now, this jumper is a bought jumper. I didn't make it. It's a mohair blend. It's got a balloon sleeve, quite a deep cuff, and a cinched in waist, which is quite a deep cuff. There's a double knitted band down the front and a V-neck, and it's a drop sleeve. So I'm after your advice. Do you know of any patterns that are actually kind of a little bit like this to make something that's primarily stocking stitch, I think, because I want it to really stand the test of time, that is either a cardigan or a pullover that's got a plain button band? The only issue about it being a cardigan is because the weight of that yarn is so light that I feel like a button having to be added to a button band might give it a weight that the yarn isn't really suitable for. It's going to make something really feathery and ethereal. Anyway, I'm after pattern suggestions. Have you got any ideas for me? If you do, would you please put them in the comments below? And at the end of the week, before I upload my next video, I'm going to give away a pattern to someone who makes a pattern suggestion for me. It doesn't have to be the one that I use. At the moment, I actually am looking at a pattern from McMill for like a ballet wrap for this yarn, and I'm probably going to swatch for that. I've also got a Kim Hargraves cardigan that is very similar to this, but I still I feel like I haven't fully exhausted all my possibilities, and I want to do my research properly, so I'm asking you to help me. So yes, I will go through the comments before I upload my next video, and I'll choose one at random, and I will give away a pattern of that person's choice for helping me to choose something suitable for this beautiful Cardiff Cashmere Prime Cashmere Silk Blend yarn. Their packaging is amazing. It comes like, literally, it's like a box of chocolates or a box of macarons. Beautiful. I'm trying to channel Shiv Roy from Succession with the idea of making something in cashmere silk to wear. That's the kind of vibe I'm going for. Alright, so that is all I've got today. Thank you once again for joining. Don't forget, leave a comment. Tell me what you think I should make with this incredibly beautiful cashmere silk lace weight yarn. Something that'll help me channel Shiv Roy from Succession. And I'll pick one of those commenters and give away a pattern to celebrate my 1 year anniversary and 2,000 subscribers, and also just to celebrate how fantastic you lot are. And I will tell you that I am incredibly grateful that you're here. If you've made it this far, thank you very, very much. Please subscribe, and even if you don't, come back again, and I'll see you next time. Bye.